Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Swami Gopmati, when you are ready, you can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is
Swapnamati, right? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Today we'll continue reading from second canto, chapter 7, entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions, from text 14 onwards. The personality of Godhead assumed the incarnation of Narasimhadeva in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand. By placing the demon on his thighs and piercing him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger and showing his fearful teeth and mouth. Text 15. The leader of the elephants, whose leg was attacked in a river by a crocodile of superior strength, was much aggrieved. Taking a lotus flower in his trunk, he addressed the Lord, saying, O original enjoyer, Lord of the universe, O deliverer, famous as a place of pilgrimage. All are purified simply by hearing your holy name, which is worthy to be chanted. Text 16. The personality of Godhead, after hearing the elephant's plea, felt that the elephant needed his immediate help, for he was in great distress. Thus, at once, the Lord appeared there on the wings of the king of birds, Garuda, fully equipped with his weapon, the wheel, Chakra. With the wheel, he cut to pieces the mouth of the crocodile to save the elephant, and he delivered the elephant by lifting him by his trunk. Text 17. The Lord, although transcendental to all material modes, still surpassed all qualities of sons of Aditi, known as the Adityas. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, and because he surpassed all the planets of the universe, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaja. He asked simply because without begging, no authority can take one's rightful possession. Text 18. Bali Maharaja, who put on his head the water washed from the lotus feet of the Lord, did not think of anything besides his promise, in spite of being forbidden by his spiritual master. The king, dedicated by his own personal body to fulfill the measurement of the Lord's 3rd step. For such a personality, even the kingdom of heaven, which he conquered by his strength, was of no value. Text 19. O Narada, you were taught about the signs of God and his transcendental loving service by the personality of Godhead in his incarnation of Hamsavatara. He was very much pleased with you due to your intense proportion of devotional service. He also explained unto you lucidly the full science of devotional service, which is especially understandable by persons who are souls surrendered unto Lord Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. Text 20. As the incarnation of Manu, the Lord became the descendant of the Manu dynasty and ruled over the miscreant kingly order, subduing them by his powerful wheel weapon. Undeterred in all circumstances, his rule was characterized by his glorious fame, which spread over the 3 lokas and above them to the planetary system of Satyaloka, the topmost in the universe. Text 21. The Lord, in his incarnation of Dhanvantari, very quickly cures the diseases of the ever diseased living entities simply by his fame personified, and only because of him do the demigods achieve long lives. Thus, the personality of Godhead becomes ever glorified. He also exacted a share from the sacrifices, and it is he only who inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe. Text 22. When the ruling administrators, who are known as the Kshatriyas, turned astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord, in his incarnation as the sage Parashurama, uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns of the earth. Thus he thrice 7 times uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper. Text 23. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaja Ikshvaku as the lord of his internal potency, Sita. Under the order of his father, Maharaja Dashratha, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother. Ravana, who was very materially powerful with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished. Text 24. The personality of Godhead, Ramachandra, being aggrieved for his distant, intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of the enemy Ravana with red-hot eyes like those of Hara, who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics like the sharks, snakes, and crocodiles, were being burned by the heat of the angry red-hot eyes of the Lord. Text 25. When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant, which carried the king of heaven, Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered broken parts illuminated all directions. Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of the bow of Ramachandra, the personality of Godhead. Text 26. When the world is overburned by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. Text 27. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, or to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subramati. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, Sundaracala Prabhu, when you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Sapna Mataji, for reading. This chapter is titled Scheduled Incarnation with Specific Functions. So I'll start with a brief prayer. Om Ajnanati Niranga Sadhanam Salate Namam Vishnuvaraya Krishna Prishthaya Bhakti Srimati Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharani.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram. So as we saw in the previous chapter, that Sri Krishna Prabhu has covered, and also the previous class also, we saw that Brahmaji, after answering questions asked by Naradji, he expressed his desire to speak about the pastimes of Leela Avatara. Of course, Leela Avataras mentioned here include also Manmantra Avatara, Yajnavita Avataras also. So all except the Purusha Avataras, basically. So the primary focus in the discussion till now are being the activities of Purusha Avataras from the previous chapter. So now the focus is shifted to Leela Avataras. So we have started today from verse number 14. So Narasimhadeva was described here. Traitishtaporubhayahasanarasimharupam krutva brahmad bhrukutidam sakarala vaktram daityendраmasau gajjabhitapatanamarat purav nipatya vidadara nakhais purantam. So Narasimhadeva, now to vanquish the great fear of the demigod and the disturbance created by Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord in the club with his club, and by placing demon on his thighs, Lord Narasimhadeva appears him, his name, rolling his eyebrows in anger, showing his fearful teeth and mouth. So this is what is described in this. So actually, Brahmaji declined to award him the benediction, the immortality, because he himself is not an immortal being. So then Hiranyakashipu did severe penance in order to get the benediction from Brahmaji to get immortality. This is something he could not fulfill. Almost. So what what happened was Brahmaji ended up giving almost equal to what becoming the immortal being. So Hiranyakashipu was sure that he would not be killed by any man, any demigod, or by any kind of known weapon, nor would he die in the day and night. So so he would never expected that Lord would come and assume the incarnation of half man and half lion, because the benediction was either like it should not be killed either by a human or an animal. So which was beyond the imagination of a materialistic demon like Hiranyakashipu. So when demons like Hiranyakashipu has a greater plan, Lord himself has even better plans than that. So finally what happened? He was killed on his lap, Lord's lap, and neither on the land, nor on water, nor in the sky. The demon was pierced with Narasimhadeva's nails, which are neither the weapon. The literal meaning of Hiranyakashipu, Prabhupada says, the one who is after gold and soft bedding, which is the ultimate aim of all materialistic men. Such demonic men who have no relationship with God. So whoever challenges the authority of Supreme Lord tortures the devotees of the Lord, because Prahlad was a great devotee of the Lord. Because his father tortured him. So to finish the enemy of the demigod, Lord killed Hiranyakashipu beyond demon's imagination. Similarly, Prabhupada is saying, materialistic plans of godless demons are always frustrated by the all-powerful Lord. From verse 15 to 16, the incarnation, Hari, Avatar was described. So the Lord Hari is described in Canto 8, one of the Manmantra avatars. So here it is described, the leader of the elements, This is a wonderful prayer of, this is one of the prayers from the Gajendra Moksha prayer that was extracted from Canto 8. Brahma has briefly spoken one of the verse from those prayers. This is a wonderful verse, so let me read also. Antastarasi urubalena pade gruhito grahena yutha patair ambujahasta atta ahedamadi purusha khila lokanatha yuthastrava Shravana Mangala Namadheya. So here there are four. Gajendra has addressed Hari in using four. He addressed in four different ways. Number one, Adi Purusha. Number two, Akhila Lokanatha. Number three, Yitha Sravaha. Number four, Shravana Mangala Namadheya. So, as we can see, Adi Purusha means the one who is the original enjoyer. Bhoktaram, Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Aham Sarvasya Prabho Matta Sarvam Pravasate. In those verses, the position of Lord as Adi Purusha was described. And similarly, Akhila Loka Natha. So the Lord of the universe, or Jagan, like for example in form of our Jagannath, Akhila Lokanatha, Prabhupada has highlighted, very detailedly given in this purport. This is the purport for today actually. We can thoroughly read this purport given by Prabhupada, verse number 15. So here, Akhila Lokanatha, Lord of the universe, so the promise of the Lord that his devotee will never be vanquished is quite befitting, that the elephant called upon Lord to protect him, and the merciful Lord also at once responded. So that's why it is addressed. It's not just human beings. Even Lord responds to the prayers of even animals. This is the proof. The Lord is protector of everyone. That's why he was addressed as Akhila Lokanatha. So he is first protector of one who acknowledges this. Prabhupada says he is the protector of one who acknowledges his superiority instead of being falsely proud to deny the superiority of the Lord or claim to be equal to him. So therefore a pure devotee is given first preference because of this full dependence of the pure devotee. So the elephant addresses Lord as Siddha Shravaha. So as famous as a place of pilgrimage. Generally, Prabhupada says people go to places of pilgrimage, and in order to be delivered. But one can be freed from all sinful reactions simply by remembering his holy name. That is the potency of the Lord. He does have the same benefit at home or at any place simply by chanting. Doesn't matter whether the deity at home or a photograph, simple photograph of Lord home, or a deity at a temple, or a Lord directly in person. Same benefit is there. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Lord can reciprocate. A pure devotee of the Lord never commits any sinful acts because the whole world is full of sinful atmosphere. Even a pure devotee may commit a sin unconsciously. So since pure devotee tries to remember and also remembers the Lord always, he is certainly delivered, Prabhupada says. And the Lord here is addressed as Shravana Mangala. This means he is auspicious simply by hearing the holy name. Punya Shravana Kirtanaha, it is described. The Lord has nothing to do in this world actually. Neither he has any obligation to do anything, Prabhupada says. He comes out of his own causeless mercy. When we call up his name and act as we desire, simply out of causeless mercy. So, however, Prabhupada says modern fiction novels of the world occupy a greater part of people's valuable time. People are killing time in reading so many mundane literature. They agitate youth mind. If you see any youngster is constantly in the anxiety of even watching a television show, what happens next, right? And watching and playing the video game. He plays with community as a community, and he plays as a team virtually. And these people are so much engrossed in these kind of false things. What happens at the end of the day? They go through so much of anxiety for nothing, which is whatever they're going through is simply useless. So on the contrary, these kind of anything that we listen other than the holy name of the Lord or pastimes related to Lord, it simply agitates our mind, unnecessarily increases the mode of passion and ignorance, leading to increasing bondage to material conditions. The same aptitude for hearing and reading is better utilized. The utility is explained here. When we utilize the same hearing power in hearing and reading of Lord's activities, the result is wonderful. That's why he is addressed as Sravana Mangala. And last one is Namadheya. Namadheya means whose holy name is worth chanting. Every minute and every word that we chant on about the Supreme Lord is worth chanting. Verse number 16, as a continuation, the Lord Hari incarnation was addressed here. This is a key word which we highlight to be highlighted. Aprameya, the word. Aprameya means the unlimitedly powerful Lord. Prabhupada gives a wonderful explanation why elephant Gajendra is addressing Lord as unlimitedly powerful Lord. So let me go and read that. So Prabhupada says the modern scientists have invented 8 ships which are made of matter, which can travel, and these airships would, and even the mind ship, it takes millions of years to cross outside of this layers of the universe, material layers of the universe. 7, sometimes it is addressed as 8 layers of outside the universe. In order to cross over that and get to the spiritual world, what it takes, Prabhupada is explaining based on Brahma Samhita words. Modern scientists have invented 8 ships which are material. Yogis make a still finer material attempt to travel by mind ship with the subtle body. These yogis are so powerful that they can go to a distant place very quickly with the help of mind ship. But neither the airship nor the mind ship has access to the kingdom of the God in Vaikuntha. Prabhupada declares here, none of them have access to Vaikuntha. Situated far beyond the material sky. How is it possible? Then how is it possible? Here he's revealing out why he was addressed as Aprameya, unlimited Lord. How is it possible for prayers of elephants to be heard from such an unlimitedly distant place? It is mentioned that it takes millions of years even to cross, within this universe, to go from one layer to another layer out the material covering. It takes millions of years. So such an enormous distance. How could the Supreme Lord, who is can hear these prayers of the elephant? So it cannot be calculated by human imagination. That's why all this was possible by unlimited power of the Lord. And therefore, Lord is described here as Aprameya. He can appear simultaneously in all places at a moment's notice. He doesn't even take much time. Such is the omnipotency of the Lord. So this is Aprameya is signifies the omnipotency of the Lord. Verse number 17, and 18 describes about Vaman Avatar. So Vaman Avatar is such a beautiful and wonderful form of the Lord that the Vaman Avatar came as the son of one of the sons of Aditi, known as Aditya. So the Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, right? And he's also born as a brother to Indradev. And in his pastime as a Vaman Avatar, he actually surpassed the planets of the universe. And here, there are so many concepts which were compressed by Prabhupada in the purport. Let me read out what I could. The Lord, as the proprietor of everything, these also translation. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of the Aditi, and because he surpassed all planets of the universe, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaj. He asked simply because, without begging, no authority can take one's rightful position. So here the Lord is following, the etiquette. The Supreme Lord owns everything. He is following the etiquette of not forcefully taking away the property of Bali Maharaja, but rather he came as pretending as a beggar, as a Brahmana, of course, Brahmana, but not as a beggar. I meant. And the history of the Bali Maharaja was described in this quote. The Lord, as the proprietor of everything, could take from Bali Maharaj all the lands he possessed. But he did not do so because Bali Maharaja possessed all those lands by king's right. He rightfully owned them by winning over the 3 planetary systems, and from 3 worlds he has conquered one after another, and he rightfully possessed those properties. That's why Lord honored. Bali Maharaja was very glad to receive, as a pure devotee of the Lord, Bali Maharaja was very glad to receive the Lord's remaining step upon his head as a part of the pastime. He doesn't have any more space left to give the 3rd step to the Supreme Lord, and so he had to so he has such a renunciation and so much of surrendering to Supreme Lord that Bali Maharaja offered the remaining step. He offered his head. So Lord becoming his constant companion and a doorman, just by this surrender, Lord has given himself to him. Lord became his constant companion, and he even took a menial position like a doorman in a Sutala location, one of the 14 planetary systems. So by giving everything to the cause of the Lord, one does not lose anything. This is a very important realization that I felt like we can internalize. By giving everything to the cause of the Lord, one does not lose anything, but he gains everything that he could never otherwise expect. Our devotees do sacrifice so much of time for the servicing at the temple, so much time for servicing the devotees. Our devotees even spend their own income doing seva at the temple. So these charities that devotees do out of love for the God, Lord Krishna, here Prabhupada is mentioning, by doing so we don't lose anything. By doing such acts, we are getting one step closer to Krishna. So the next verse 18, there is one important line that we can pay attention to. Atmanam anga manasa haraye abhimene. So Atmanam, so Bali Maharaj has offered his body, and anga manasa, he offered his mind. Haraye abhimene. So he dedicated these to the Lord Hari. That's how he surrendered. And for such a personality, even the kingdom of heaven, which he conquered by his strength, was of no value. Such an exalted position Pali Maharaj is in. And it was mentioned by Prabhupada, when the Lord snatches away one's hard-earned material possessions, and favors one with his personal transcendental service for eternal life, bliss, and knowledge, such taking away by the Lord should be considered as a special favor upon such a great devotee. Actually, Prabhupada mentions in morning walks, this very much he highlights, and he in the public speeches, especially for devotees, he keeps repeating it. When Lord snatches away our property, when snatches away our health, when Lord snatches away anything, it appears to be, that our well-being is in compromise. Lord is ignoring us. We might get in situations and crises in our lives that make us feel like that, but actually, his Prabhupada is highlighting otherwise. When the Lord snatches away one's hard-earned material possessions, it is nothing but special favor given by Lord to the pure devotee. The Lord actually is not here. He protects not in the way we expect, but he protects in the way which is for our eternal well-being. So his protection comes in a way that is ultimately good for us. It might not be in the form of bodily protection, but it is mostly in the form of soul protection. So material possessions, however alluring they may be, cannot be permanent possessions. Have to be voluntarily given up. Prabhupada is saying we have to start cultivating a habit of voluntarily giving up, one at a time, and by the time we retire, by the time we we are 80-year-old or 70-year-old, whatever, about the 55-year-old, we are close to Vanaprasthashram. So by that time, we should start cultivating and throughout our life this habit of voluntarily giving up our possessions, slowly, one at a time, by nicely taking care of our family and Grihasthashram, not by ignoring them falsely, but responsibly, voluntarily giving up progressively, one at a time. And the sane man knows that all material possessions are temporary, and one must engage them in the service of the Lord. That is the principle. One must engage them in the service of the Lord. So Lord, by pleased with such a devotee, he awards him a permanent place in the Paramdhama. So Prabhupada says. But of course, devotees do not have such expectation, but it is out of causeless mercy, at the discretion of the Supreme Lord, he does take care of devotee like that. So Prabhupada highlights here verse number 5 to 6 from chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. It is wonderfully explained by Prabhupada. So here, Atyahara Prayasascha, actually over-enduring and accumulating more and more constantly, right? That is from that tendency, it is mentioned here that we should transform that tendency to, we have to do a Pratyahara. So here, Pratyahara is basically that we voluntarily take up, it is the opposite of Atyahara, where we stop accumulating and start voluntarily giving up. So that is what is highlighted here. I'll just read this, important paragraph. Therefore, the more one spiritually advances by devotional service to the Lord in exchange for his temporary possessions, the more one is free from the attachment of material illusion. To achieve this stage of life, one must be firmly convinced about the spiritual existence and its permanent effect. Unless one is, Prabhupada is saying, unless one is firmly convinced by properly reading the literature translated by Prabhupada about the spiritual existence and its permanent effect, it's very difficult to get this concept. So to know exactly that's why it is very important to read Prabhupada's books on a daily basis, so that we constantly purify our consciousness. To know exactly the permanence of spiritual existence, one must voluntarily practice possessing less or only minimum to maintain one's material existence without difficulty. So Prabhupada says, to be satisfied with the minimum artificial needs of life or activities of the senses. Prabhupada is saying, artificial needs are nothing but activities of the senses. So we should be very cautious about that. In other words, here progressively Prabhupada is taking, say, quote and close attention here. Perfect civilization is a civilization of Atma or soul proper. Self-realization, civilization of self, where self-realization is cultivated. The civilized man of sense gratification is on an equal level with animals. That is the lowest level of consciousness. Because animals cannot go beyond the activities of above the senses in the mind. Next, the level of first civilized man of sense gratification was described by Prabhupada. Next, he goes to the level of civilization of mental speculation. Jnani is also not a perfect stage of life, because the above the mind is the intelligence. And Bhagavad Gita gives us information of intellectual civilization, the next level. So like that, Prabhupada actually gives the importance of one slowly getting from gross material engagement to the level of intelligence engaged in the self-realization and God realization. As soon as the man is realized the status of civilization of the soul, he is fit to be promoted the kingdom of the Lord. Those who have attained the comforts of material civilization made for sense gratification should try to attain the kingdom of the God by following the footsteps of Bali Maharaj, who attained his acquired material strength, adopting the process of Bhakti Yoga as recommended in Bhagavad Gita. So that is quite exhaustive, purport, very well worth reading. Please also read this verse, text number 18 purport, if you have time. Next comes the Hamsavatara. So this is a wonderful pastime also. 4 Kumaras what happened was, they have once asked Lord Brahma, so dear Father, how do we detach mind from senses and vice versa? So in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that the senses are tightly integrated with our mind. How do we detach? The question asked by 4 Kumaras to Brahma is, how do we detach that mind which is so much tightly integrated with senses and vice versa? For which Lord Brahma, so much engaged in the creation, could not answer. Immediately Lord came. Lord came to answer in the form of Hamsavatara. If you imagine, you might have experienced, you might be having one of the struggling questions that you are unable to get answer about, and Lord sends some devotee so that he gives us a hint while reading a purport. So you'll stumble upon a purport on the same day or the next day, and hey, there you go, there is the answer that you are looking for. Like that here, Lord constantly answers for someone who is constantly trying to find the absolute truth. Whoever is on the sincere attempt of absolute search, Lord constantly tries to assist us. This is the proof here. So here, Hamsavatara was addressed as yes. So here, like a lamp of transcendental knowledge, Srimad Bhagavatam is like a lamp of transcendental knowledge. So this through the devotional service, such a knowledge is revealed to the person who is the soul surrendered to Vasudeva. It is said that in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, such a soul, great soul, fully surrendered into the Lord, feet of Vasudeva is very, very rare. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So there is a text number 20. So text number 20, it sounds like a Manvantara avatar. So it's not exactly a Manvantara avatar because Manu is considered as a Vibhuti. There are actually Vishnu Tattvas like Leela avatars, Yuva avatars who are also Vishnu Tattvas. Shakti avatars, they are actually Jiva Tattvas. But they are highly empowered Jiva Tattvas. And then comes the Vibhutis like Manu, who are empowered, but not to the extent to which Avesh avatars are empowered. So there are 3 to 4 categories up there in our explanation. But both the Shakti Avesh avatars and the Manus are actually Jiva Tattvas only. Here, Manu comes in the categories of a Vibhuti. So here Prabhupada says there are 420 Manus in the month of Brahma, and there are 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Similarly, there are 504,000 Manus in the jurisdiction of Brahma, which is 100 years of Brahma in the total duration of his life. There are innumerable Brahmas, and all of them live only during one breathing period of Mahavishnu. You can imagine how great is Supreme Lord, and just imagine how the incarnations of the Supreme Lord work all over the material world. And on the top of it, Krishna mentions, I think at the end of 7th or 6th chapter, Ekam Svena Sito Jagat. All this that you are seeing, I maintain with just one fragment of my potential. It doesn't take much effort. So, Samudra Mandan Leela, the next verse 21, Dhanvantri, the incarnation of the Lord, it was highlighted here. Lord Dhanvantri, you might have, we will read about it in Canto 8. Dhanvantri during the Samudra Mandan Leela. So, due to him only, demigods achieve longer life because he quickly cures their diseases, he also, this form of the Lord has inaugurated the medical science, the medicine in the universe. So he is the one who inaugurated. So Prabhupada says, medicine science, knowledge in the medicine was also inaugurated by personality of God. It's not by human beings. And the Vedas are source of all knowledge. And thus the knowledge in the medical science is also there for the perfect cure of diseases of a living entity. So the embodied living entity is diseased. Prabhupada is highlighting the embodied living entity is diseased by very constitution of this body. So he's saying basically this body itself is a diseased condition. The disease may differ from one variety to the another, but the disease must be there just as there is birth and death for everyone. So the Lord Dhanvantri is also addressed as Bhavaushadhi, or the source of curing the disease of material existence. The Lord is generally addressed as the one who cures the disease, the biggest disease of the material existence. So Parashurama, verse number 22. So here he was addressed as Mahatma, Avani Kanchakam, Sri Shapta. You can make address of these 3 words. So what Lord, when the ruling in those days, when the ruling class administrators, kings supposedly, Kshatriyas, turned away from the path of absolute truth, stopped listening to the Brahmanic advisory while administering the kingdom. What happened? It started creating havoc in the whole world and creation. So it so happened that the world is suffering out of is suffering as it is in hell. So Lord in his incarnation, sage Parasurama uprooted those unwanted thorns-like things. How he did that? He actually take up a sharp chopper as a weapon, and he has went around several times around the earth. He thrice the 7 times, which is nothing but 21 times. I was reading as Trishaptak. And then he chastised them, punished them. And it was that Prabhupada says monarchy, democracy, oligarchy, or a dictatorship, or autocracy. We all know what is monarchy, right? Democracy, oligarchy, someone which is like capitalist who actually take over and run the whole kingdom, not with the best interest of the people. Dictatorship, who simply is dogmatic and he would do whatever he feels and suppresses the people. Autocracy. So all these kinds of different types of administration was put on, suppressed by Lord Parasuram. This is essential for human beings. And duty of the father, spiritual master, ultimately the state, to take up the responsibility of leading citizens towards this end. So here Prabhupada is saying, as a representative of the Lord Kshatriya, it is duty as a father of the people in that kingdom, even a role of spiritual master, even a role of a father in a family. Ultimately, is to take the dependent to the state to take up to the path of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. The whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose. Prabhupada is saying, the whole existence of material creation, simply the universe was created for this purpose only, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who have rebelled against the will of Supreme Father. So all these rebel souls ended up in the material world. This is the only chance, not the only chance given again and again, so that they reform and take up and then they go back to where they belong, the spiritual world. The force of material nature gradually leads one to hellish conditions of perpetual pains and miseries. Those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditioned life are called Brahmojita Pathas. Those what Prabhupada is highlighting, these Brahmojita Pathas who don't care about the prescribed rules and regulations put upon for gradual elevation in the form of religion. Anybody who ignores them, these Brahmojita Pathas, are liable to be punished by the material nature. Prabhupada. And Prabhupada also says some interesting facts. Kshatriya kings fled from India to other parts of the world at that time. According to the authority of Mahabharata, the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India because of Parshuram's program of chastisement. Verses 23 to 25, these are so beautiful verses on Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra. And so Ramachandra is addressed in this verse number 23 as Kalesha, the Lord of all potencies. Here, Prabhupada is saying, ignorant, unscrupulous, ignorant commentators on Lord Rama is Supreme Personality of Godhead. His brothers, namely Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrugna, are nothing but plenary expansions. All the 4 brothers are Vishnu Tattva actually. They are not ordinary human beings, Prabhupada is saying. But what happens? There are many unscrupulous, ignorant commentators on Ramayana who present the younger brothers of Lord Ramachandra as ordinary living entities. This is very, very wrong. That's why we should read proper Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana, translated by devotees from ISKCON. You can rely on those kind of sources. But here, Ramachandra is the incarnation of Vasudeva. Lakshmana is the incarnation of Sankarsana. Bharata is the incarnation of Pradyumna. Shatrughna is the incarnation of Aniruddha. Mother Lakshmi, Sita is the internal potency of the Lord Ramachandra and is neither an ordinary woman nor external potency incarnation of Durga. Durga is actually external potency of the Lord and she is the consort of Lord Shiva. So we should not mistake. Internal potency is Lakshmi or Sita or Radharani. So as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, in that verse 4.7, Lord appears when there is a discrepancies in the discharge of actual religion. So Lord Ramachandra came into this world for that reason, to establish the broken religion. And he appeared as an ideal son to his father, Dasharatha. And Sita decided to go with Ramachandra to the forest in exile when he was asked to go to exile. Lord agreed to, to have both Lakshman and Sita come along to Dandakaranya forest, where they spent 14 years in exile. The quarrel between Ramachandra and Ravana, after the Sita was kidnapped, it ended up vanquishing the greatly powerful Ravana along with his kingdom and family. Here, Prabhupada says, the materialistic man like Ravana does not understand this great truth that she is meant for being worshipped by the Mother Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. She is never to be enjoyed by any living being. Now, if you see some of the people, they worship Mother Lakshmi alone, especially on the Diwali time. A lot of merchants in India, they don't even worship Lord Narayan. They simply worship Lakshmi Devi. It is being mentioned by Prabhupada. She is meant for being worshipped along with her husband, not alone like that. Sri Ramachandra, along with Ramachandra and Sita together. A materialistic man like Ravana does not understand this great truth. Contrarily, he wants to snatch Sita Devi from the custody of Rama. And thus he ends up being in trouble. So the materialists who are after opulence and materialistic prosperity may take lessons from the Ramayana that the policy of exploiting the nature of the Lord without acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord is a policy of Ravana, demons like Ravana. So Ravana was very advanced materially, Prabhupada says. So much that he turned his kingdom, Lanka, into pure gold, full material wealth. But because he did not recognize the supremacy of the Lord, despite he is so materially advanced, he ended up destroyed. He was destroyed at the end. So Lord Ramachandra is full incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and with his 6 opulences in 4, and he is therefore mentioned in this verse as Kalesha, or master of all opulence. Text 24. This is a very complicated purport. I could not understand some part of it, but I will explain what I understood. The personality of God has every sentiment of a sentient being, like all other beings. Let me read the translation. The personality of Godhead, Ramachandra, being agreed of his distant intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of enemy Ravana with red hot eyes like those of Hara. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because his family members, the aquatics like sharks, snakes, crocodiles, were being burned by the heat of the angry red hot eyes of the Lord. So here, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Ramachandra, has every sentiment. If you observe his sentiment, right, he is actually lamenting for Sita. He is missing Sita so much. It appears like a mortal sentiment also. If you look at it, he's saying, Prabhupada is saying, Person of Godhead has every sentiment of a sentient being like any other living being. Because he is a chief living entity, supreme source, all other living beings also have similar sentiments. So he is the Nitya, eternal chief, all eternal. And it is the position of Supreme Lord, which was very much highlighted here in this. Due to such So here Prabhupada is saying, they are different in quantity. Though there is oneness in living beings versus the Supreme Lord, in terms of Satchit Ananda qualities, but still the quantity-wise, the sentiments vary. Sentiments of Supreme Lord is at a higher level all the time. But Ramachandra was angry. His red-hot eyes has caused ocean to the personification of the ocean trembled with fear. He came out. The Prabhupada says impersonalists will see havoc in this red-hot sentiment of the Lord because they want to see negation in perfection. So it basically means that impersonalists always denounce upon the personal form of Lord. They never want to highlight any such great leelas performed by Supreme Lord. That's what is being highlighted here by Prabhupada. So they had Lord Ramachandra's sentiment being of a mundane origin. Now he's saying, Prabhupada is saying, sentiments of a mundane person versus sentiment of Supreme Lord. If it is a mundane origin sentiment, how could it disturb the whole ocean and its inhabitants? Prabhupada is asking. Can any mundane red-hot eye generate heat in the great ocean? So, the absolute person cannot be devoid of sentiment, cannot be devoid of personality, cannot be devoid, just by seeing the reflected, we should not tie them to the reflected temporary mundane world. They are divyam. All his pastimes, his form is all divyam. So we cannot tie them to the mundane world. And such sentiments are definitely not absent in absolute. All the impersonalists think, making their mundane estimation of the transcendental world. So Prabhupada is saying, mundane estimation, stop doing the mundane estimation for dear impersonalists on the Supreme Lord. There is a verse number 25 to verse number, actually this is concluding verse of on Ramachandra. Sajjosh Pashubhi Saha Vineshyati Dara Hartur. So it is highlighted here. However powerful a living being may be, when he is condemned by the Lord, no one can save him. However weak one may be, if he is protected by the Lord, contrarily, no one can annihilate him. So that is the power of the Supreme Lord. So 26 to 35, pastimes of Sri Krishna were brief here. So we are covering only the two verses remaining, 26 and 27 today. So the first verse, 26, on Lord Krishna's pastime, Sita Krishna Kesha, he was addressed as not only beautiful but also blackish in hair. Krishna was addressed. Both appearance of Lord Krishna and immediate expansion Lord Baladeva, both the brothers, are actually Supreme Personality of Godhead only. So, dear devotees, actually, it's been a little over time. I would actually please read the last two verses when you get some time. So the Lord of Lord Krishna's pastimes was very, very sweet in nature. Please take some time in reading, or I would request Prabhu, whoever is going to do tomorrow's class, take those. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sundaracala Prabhu. Let's offer obeisances. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha paditana pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Thank you.